everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Saturday Night Slashers here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. If you like listening to people discuss their enjoyment in watching young people get brutally murdered in creative ways, then this is the show for you. My name is Matthew, and I am joined by my two co-hosts that know a little bit about killing people on screen. First, from Evil Forest Effects herself, special effects extraordinaire, Heather.
Hi.
And you see the man clapping right there. Legendary micro-budget filmmaker in the state of Nebraska. A man with dozens of films to his filmography credits, Josh.
Hi. Don't clap for that. Don't clap for that.
Legend. Now, as I mentioned before, we talk slasher films on this show, and each episode we will be picking a new selection and discussing what makes it a slasher film or what doesn't make it a slasher film. It could be something that we really, really love. It could be something we've never seen before. Regardless, we are going to talk about a new movie on each episode. So stab that like and subscribe button. Ring that notification bell because we don't know when these episodes are going to air. So if you want to know when a new episode of Saturday Night Slashers appears, you got to hit that notification bell because we don't know. There's no set schedule, guys, right? We just do what we want when we want to do it, right?
That's the beauty of running your own show. You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah. So if you want to know, hit that notification bell. That's what you got to do. So our first episode of Saturday Night Slashers was us talking about our definitions of what constitutes a slasher film. You know, it is a specific subgenre within the greater umbrella of the horror genre. And what is it? There's a lot of debate and discussion. And so, you know, we provided a list of our personal favorite slasher films as well to give you all a little bit of background into what we consider to be slasher films. But now, with this episode, we're going to get down into it, right? So we are going to talk about a movie tonight, 1971's A Bay of Blood, also known as Twitch of the Death Nerve, which is a much cooler title in my opinion. Directed by one of the giants of Italian horror cinema, Mr. Mario Bava, who has one of my top 10 favorite horror films of all time, Kill Baby Kill. I love that movie. Also did Black Sabbath, Black Sunday, a million horror films from Italy. Argento stole everything from him, by the way. Just saying. So, A Bay of Blood. Before we get into it, I kind of want to throw it to you, Heather. I'll start with you first. Had you ever heard of this movie, and what were your expectations going into this movie?
I had heard of it, but I had never seen it. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. I'd done a little bit of research beforehand. I hadn't really watched any. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Probably, is it Giallo? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it means yellow in Italian.
Yeah, I did read about that. So I don't really have a lot of experience with that, but you know, I knew it was 1971, and I knew it's basically that proto slasher. So I wasn't expecting massive gore. It may be for the time it may have been considered, but looking at it in a more contemporary lens, I wasn't expecting it to be way up here.
Okay, interesting. Josh, you don't watch a lot of older films, so I'm curious, what were your expectations going into A Bay of Blood?
Yeah, so like kind of like Heather, I had heard of A Bay of Blood. I had heard of Mario Bava. I had never seen anything that he had done. I had seen some of Argento's stuff and knew that Giallo was not my cup of tea. But as I've said to you before, the one thing I'm going to love about this show is you are going to force me to chase films that I would never in a million years watch on my own. So my expectation 100% was Matt picked this fucking movie. I'm going to hate every second of it. That was my expectation.
I will find a movie that you will eventually love. I will find one.
You will,
so,
I'm sure.
Yeah. So essentially, you know, part of the way that this show works is each one of us will pick a film for everybody to watch. So I picked this one. We have an episode coming up where Josh picked a movie called The Jester. And then Heather, you've got a couple I know behind this Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon's one, Nightmare on Elm Street. So we're going to kind of go around. Of course, we encourage everybody out there, if you like this show, leave a comment down below. If there's a slasher you want us to watch, we'll put it on the list and we'll do a deep dive and discuss it. But the reason I selected this film to watch is because I think it's very noteworthy in, let's see, I went to college with a film studies degree that I don't use because it matters not in the real world. But this was one of the films that I watched in film school when there was a specific class about horror films that I took over the summer once. And we were discussing this particular film in terms of where it stands in horror genre. Is it a giallo? Is it a horror film? Is it a slasher film? Or like, what is it? And so one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of start off with this is about half the people who watch this movie say this is the first slasher film, right? So maybe the Psycho shower scene influenced, films to come down the line, but Psycho's not a slasher film in the traditional sense. I don't think that we would think of a slasher film. But a lot of people say A Bay of Blood is the first. It is the initial slasher film. It came out 3 years before Bob Clark's Black Christmas and Toby Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Came out 7 years before John Carpenter's Halloween. And so one of the questions that I'm going to have after we kind of talk about this film and all the kills in it and whatnot is this a slasher film? Do we consider A Bay of Blood to be a slasher film? If we do, why? And if we don't consider it a slasher film, why is it not one? Because I think we can all agree when you watch this, there's definitely things in this that were taken by the slasher genre and are replayed over and over and over again. Tropes were created here in many ways, but does the film itself? Can you make that argument? It is a slasher film, and I can comfortably slot it into that subgenre. Or no, it's something weird, and if it's something weird, what exactly is it? So, Josh, I'm going to throw this to you real quick because I want you to go into minute detail and take us through the plot, character by character of this film, and make it make sense.
Not going to happen. I will give you the plot, and I appreciate the heads up and the warning that you were going to do this to me, because Matt usually goes, "Josh, tell us what the movie is about," and I look like a deer in headlights, and then I sit here
Spoilers,
like an asshole.
Spoilers, by the way, for people. So there will be spoilers in all of these episodes, so just assume spoilers.
And I just told Matt, look, I'm just going to read this shit because I can't figure this fucking movie out anyway. So here we go. An elderly heiress is killed by her husband, is what I got so far. And what follows is a series of brutal murders as relatives and friends kind of chase her like inheritance. As a side note, I wrote, for about 10 minutes, these random 20-year-olds go into the house. There's some random teenage bullshit going on for about 10 minutes.
Random teenage bullshit's called sex, Josh. That's what that is.
Yeah. So make it make sense to me, Matt, because here,
I have thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Heather. You have anything you want to add to the plot here that Josh is throwing out?
Yeah, I mean, I know we'll get into it more, but the teenagers, although it seems really random, I think it's because they've trespassed. So they've committed one of those crimes that is like a motivation for killing.
Come on, kids. This is private property. We can't break into a house like this. It's against the law.
What are we going to do?
I don't know the time frame. So like in what we watched, it was kind of hard to follow because the audio was not great. So maybe I need to put on some subtitles or something, but I didn't catch if there was a time difference from the first murder to the seemingly 20-year-olds looked more like 30-year-olds going into the building. That's like the same house, I take it?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be, and again, the film doesn't do a great job of the time jump and explanation of it, but it's supposed to be
all
these
day for night shooting, it looks like.
Yeah.
So.
And these kids hear about the murder and they decide, hey, we're going to go check out this
Okay.
house, right? We're going to go
Okay.
break in and check out this whole sort of thing. And then, of course, they are hunted by
Mhm.
an unseen killer
Mhm.
that we get to. But the plot of this film, and I think when we discuss whether or not this is or is not a slasher film, this might be something that we kind of narrow down on as to are slashers much more straightforward in their storytelling as to what exactly is going on, like more simplistic in terms of plot, maybe, is what I'm trying to get at. This has a very convoluted plot if you're not paying very close attention. So like Josh
Yeah.
said, it's a an heiress, a countess, I think. She's got this a beautiful house that overlooks this immaculate bay, right? So you've got your body of water out there. She doesn't want to sell it, but there's various factions throughout this movie that want it, right? So you have, like, I don't remember the names of all these characters, so forgive me. You've got, like, the blonde with her real estate sort of boyfriend husband who's trying
Laura.
to get Laura.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
Laura.
I love that shot, by the way, and I'll splice in little clips here of this. I love that shot of when they've just had sex, whatever, and he's getting his clothes back on. She walks up, and there's like those little glass cubes, whatever,
Yes.
and you see her face reflected for it. That's a lot of the cool kind of stuff that I love about Mario Bava. Is there's a lot of creativity put in the
Mhm.
kind of like the mise en scène of what's going on in there. It's like, but I digress. That's my ADHD. I'm getting off track. So they're trying to basically get this bay. They want it, and then there is, like, was it the daughter, the girl with the mole, who was a
Renata.
blonde girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
Renata.
Mhm.
Her and her husband are trying to get this bay. There is an illegitimate son of the countess that lives in a shack next to the bay, and
Simon.
he's got, yeah, Simon, he's got his own sort of thing going on.
Mhm.
And so you don't have, like, a central killer in this movie. It is, you don't really know who's killing who until the end. That's kind of where it reveals what's been going on. uh, but everybody is killing everybody in an effort to get this bay and get this house, or develop it or whatever, because it's a very valuable piece of property. And whatnot. So, yeah, I'll go to you first, Heather. What did you think about the film overall before we get into the kills and all of that stuff? What did
Mhm.
you think about this film?
Well, I agree with the cinematography. There was so many little eye candies throughout it. I love the transitions, how they would lead into one to the other, like
Like the
the
zooms, the
the light,
crash zooms that go out of
right,
focus and pull
or
back, and
even
it's a different scene.
even like the light where Simon's pulling up the light and it turns into the flashlight of Renata looking around. So it's just
Mm.
these types of transitions were really I really love those. Um, I did feel like when I was very first firing it up, it had more of a like a soap opera drama feel to it. Um, I was thinking, this is going to be interesting that it's a horror. I did wonder if it had anything to do with you know, it seems like foreign films, and I don't know, would we consider this a foreign film? I mean, he's
Yeah,
Italian,
it's
right?
Italian. Yep.
Okay. Um, so is it because foreign films are a little more convoluted, it seems, and American films tend to like spoon feed us because a lot of times they don't think we can get the plot? Is that have something to do with it? But um it was just these long shots of the bay and these interesting compositions. And so I loved all of that. The plot itself, I knew it was going to be kind of hard to follow, so I wasn't super digging that, but I like once I knew what the plot was, and I was like, okay, this is cool. It's kind of like a more dramatic horror version of Clue.
I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face.
If you think about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, that's
yeah,
a hallmark of the giallo
the
genre,
whodunit, yeah.
right? The
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
overly complicated what is
Yeah,
going on here. That's why some
yeah,
people are like, this is a giallo. This isn't a slasher. But
right. There's like little pieces that I picked up that I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then it made me think if I rewatched it, would I see other little bits, and I don't know if I should bring that up yet or if I should wait until the kills for that. But um, so yeah, I liked it for what it was. I had an expectation. It's an older film. It's not going to be like the newer contemporary. I wasn't going to be scared. So I wasn't scared. And maybe I'm
Right.
just desensitized at this point because when you're behind the camera and you know how things are done, then you kind of stop getting scared. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed the cinematography of it, the artistry of the shots.
Yeah. And Mario Bava served as his own cinematographer on this
Hmm.
film.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned, how it has a kind of a soap opera feel to it, it's very, very common for Italian films at that time. I think a
Hmm.
lot of it has to do with the score because the
Hmm.
music is so like
Pastoral. Yeah.
it's just so it does
Hmm.
not give a horror vibe at
Yeah, it's
all,
not it's
right?
not there's no tension. There isn't any tension I felt really. The music definitely played to that where it's just like this pastoral, like this sad, kind of somber music or I don't know. It didn't seem like it was trying to create tension. They didn't use
Yeah.
music in that way.
Yeah, and I think I really like what you just said about like the shots and the composition. There's a lot of creative stuff here. Like at the very
Hmm.
beginning of it, you get a first person point of view of a fly.
Hmm.
As it's just going before it hits the water and
Yeah.
dies, presumably. There's a
Hmm.
sequence that I think is really cool where it looks like it's the sun out of focus, and when it comes in focus, it's the close up of the killer's eyeball. And I
Hmm.
was like, that's just such a cool way to
Hmm.
show something like that rather than just putting the
Hmm.
camera up and the guy's eye is there.
Right.
Um, too many zooms in this. This is
Yeah.
very Italian and crash zooms and
Yeah.
and that's why I like watching these kind of films and introducing like people like Josh to these kind of films because I think it's such a foreign alien way to watch a movie nowadays that I like
Hmm.
seeing reactions of
Hmm.
how people engage with
Yeah.
seeing something that's so weird. Josh, I'll go to
Hmm.
you. What were your thoughts on the movie overall?
I mean, you tackled the first couple of notes I had on here, but I'll revisit them quickly. I really enjoyed the music. The tone went completely against what the tone of the film was, and I always appreciate and enjoy when they do that kind of thing. It just sets it up for uh, just something completely different. And then the other thing was the zoom, the zoom stuff. I was like, what is with in knowing that that is a piece of um, you know the Italian film or what like whatever like knowing that's part of it like that makes sense. But I was like, this is driving me fucking crazy. Like, stop doing that, please. I just don't want any more of those. There's also a shot in this movie. I can't tell you where it was or what it was, but it was just like all over the place. And I remember sitting there watching it, and I was like, I'm gonna throw up. There's just like it's a lot of like just shakiness and like this just weird. I don't know what it was, but um, it was it was bothering me. Um, I had I had a hard time following along with this movie, and I don't know if it was because I started it kind of late or just because I just don't get it, which is probably more accurate. Um, but I just was like, sometimes people would come out and I'd be like, well, who the fuck is that guy? I was just like lost in certain spots. Um, it moved really slow. Again, my brain does not handle films that does not just kind of move fast paced. And this, again, I understand the style, but it just, for me, like it just moved really, really slow. Um, again, I had there's a lot going on, so like I had a hard time kind of following along with like story, like different the multiple kind of storylines going on. Um, the and again, Heather said the same thing. Like I don't know if I should bring this up now or wait, but I'll bring it up now because I don't care. Um, that 10 minutes where it was just the 20-year-olds or whatever, that was the only space where I felt like it was a slasher movie. That was it for me. Um, that was like, okay, well, now this is happening and there's some cool shit going on. I can, I'm into this for a second, and then it just stopped, and then like everything, like all the kids were like all the people were dead, and I was like, okay, well, now what are they gonna do? Now we're going back into mystery murder drama land, and I just don't like visiting that place. Once it got to the back half of the movie, like that last like third act, I was like, okay, I'm back into this. Like this kind of stuff, like this is kind of cool. It just like it's an 85-minute movie, and like I was checking the time at like 45. I was like, I was ready to find a hammer and just do myself in because I can't. Like I was like, please, for God's sake, like where are like there's 40 more minutes of this shit. What are we gonna like? What's how am I gonna get through this? But I did. I powered through, and I got myself a drink and some orange slices, and got through that last 40 minutes of bullshit. So,
Okay.
there you go.
So you didn't like it, is what I'm hearing. Is that what you're telling me?
That's not 100% what I'm saying.
Okay.
And we'll revisit that too.
Okay. My thoughts on this. I love this movie. I think this movie is fantastic. I am somebody who really digs like the Clue type murder. I mean, I love murder mysteries as it is. You start throwing in crazy kills in the middle of all that, and I'm going to be all in on it. As I mentioned before, like I love Mario Bava. I knew what the style of this was going to be going into it. I've seen, I don't know, 20 Mario Bava films in my life. So I already knew sort of what to expect here. But one of the things that I really, really enjoy about this film in particular, I mentioned one of them, which was just the style of it, the creativeness of it is. But the other thing I'm trying to say is I love the just unexpected brutality of it in terms of like you're looking at a movie from 1971. This isn't something like Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast from 1963 where it's like let's just put the camera on a bunch of gore and shock people for gore's sake. There's actual style, like the first the girl who's a Brunhilde, the girl who goes skinny dipping into the lake, and then there's a dead body goes up against her. She freaks out, she's running around, and they get that, I don't know what that, it's kind of like a machete, but
Bill
it's curved.
hook.
Bill hook.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes up and just slices the back, and just the style of how it's done, just the cutting and the editing, and it slices open. I mean, you get heads lopped off in this. You get probably my favorite kill, and maybe I'm jumping into the kills up, but I love the machete or the bill hook to the face.
Roberto, that's the one I did like. I wrote that one down.
So
Which
cool.
that one is that would be the precursor to what was then used in Friday the 13th, and they have another kill that's a Friday the 13th.
Yeah. What's that kill? What's that?
And that
kill,
was
Heather?
the spear through the couple in the bed.
And both of those kills in this are far more violent in what they show than what was in Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, like when in Friday the 13th, was it part 2 where they spear through the two people? You basically get a shot of the spear going through and then the girl's eye, and then it kind of cuts away. This just lingers on these bodies as the spear is out, and she's like wiggling around on it. There's another kill later on where Simon gets killed, the speared, and he's just like, oh, I mean, they don't cut away, they just let it linger. And I don't know if you did any research on the actual special effects artist of this individual, Heather, Carlo Rombardi. He would go on after this movie to win an Oscar for 3 movies, I think. 2 of them are ones that I think you guys are very familiar with. He worked on Ridley Scott's Alien, so he built the head of the xenomorph, which got an Academy Award for that. He also built E.T.
Oh, wow.
So he got and he also did King Kong, the 76 version with Jessica Lange. He did that as well. So like the actual special effects on this, you've got pretty much, you call a special effects master working on the gore and all of that.
Mm.
There's one sequence in there with the where they find the dead body of the dude and the octopus like on
The
the
Yeah.
face
squid,
all
whatever
around.
octopus,
It's
yeah.
so, oh, it's
Yeah.
so gross. But I love the fact that you could watch a movie and be so kind of like shocked by the amount of gore that is in this thing for the time period
Mhm,
that you're
mhm.
watching. And so I love that's just sort of there's a great anecdote here of Christopher Lee was a very good friend of Mario Bava, and when Mario Bava invited Christopher Lee to come watch this movie, Christopher Lee got up and walked out in disgust because he could not believe how violent this was, and it was very shocking for audiences at the time as well. Caused a lot of issues. This was one of the original video nasties in England that was prosecuted for obscenity because of how violent it was. Today, it might look tame compared to stuff we'll watch on this show, like Hatchet, for example. But back in the day, it was very, very violent, and I still think it has that visceral appeal when you watch it. The story, I agree, very complicated, convoluted. However, I love it. So I love trying to figure out who the killer is and whatnot. So that's why I love it. But let's talk about the kills themselves. Heather, I'm going to throw it to you first. Were there any 13 people die in this movie? That averages out to a death every 6 minutes. So there are people dying throughout the course of this. What was some of your favorite kills in this film?
Well, I was writing notes as I was watching, and so I reread them. I visited them today, and I was like, "What the hell what was I writing?" Like just
Just
writing
scribble.
random things going throughout. And I definitely I liked the spear through the couple, the bill hook in the face. Obviously, I just wrote those down as this is the beginnings of how the Friday the 13th kills. um, and I really thought it was interesting with the way that Simon was killed, that it calls back to an earlier scene where you see whatever those types of bugs were, those roaches or whatever they were, and how
Oh
that was
yeah,
pinned down. And it just had that lingering shot, so this is what it's, the MacGuffin or whatever, where it's this is gonna happen, this is calling upon something. So actually, um there wasn't even barely any blood, but in that scene, although the husband does get and his name was the one that was Albert, I believe, but he gets blood on his hands, and it's just like that shock where you could see it in his eyes that, oh my god, I just killed somebody. And then he's just bathed in this sheath of light as you walk away, and
because
it's
he doesn't want to, right? It's the wife that
yeah.
is like pushing him to do a lot of this stuff, and then he's
Mhm.
like, "I want to bail. Like we got to get out of
Right.
here," sort of thing.
Right. So it was that reluctant that, oh my god, I just murdered somebody. And so it's not even like a kill that, I mean, yes, on the grand scheme of things, it's brutal. Every one of these kills are up close and personal. You have strangulation, you have, the bill hook kills, you have the spear, you have all of this that's up close and personal. I mean, it's so up close that, like, the way that it's filmed is like just right there in your face. Like, you have no breathing room to really be back.
Yeah,
Every single kill is right up on it.
like
And
extreme close-ups,
yeah,
like when
yeah.
Was it Anna? Was she the fortune teller?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Fun fact about that actress, by the way, her voice, her real voice, because it was actually dubbed in this. When
mhm.
they made this film, they shot every scene twice. They
Yeah.
shot one in Italian and then one with everybody speaking English. And
Mhm.
so, but that actress, they dubbed her voice because her voice is so low and gravelly. She's actually the dubbed voice of Linda Blair in the Italian dubbing of The Exorcist when she's demon,
Oh.
because that's what her voice actually it's so crazy.
Bonjour. Quod nomen mihi est? La plume de ma tante. Quanto tempo intendi restare dentro, Regan? Finché non marcisce e giace sottoterra con I vermi.
Nice. But yeah, I would say it's probably gonna be those top three. You know, the with the Simon's impaling, just because of how just the way that it was filmed, and you're pulling away and you have this shot that, as odd as it is to say that it's a beautiful, it's beautiful. I'm not trying to say that murder is beautiful, but just the way that it's shot, you have these nice warm tones and then this blue light that's just
Yeah.
coming in, and that complementary color off of each other, just the way that it was styled. That and then of course our punch ending, our junk or our joke
Oh,
type ending there. I
the
won't give
ending's
that away
great.
just yet, but the ending, I'm just like, what? Oh my god, where did that come from? And that I thought was quite hilarious. So
All right, Josh, what'd you think of the kills?
Heather kind of touched on the first two that I really enjoyed, and that was the hook knife thing to the face, and the spear to the back, and that's because those were familiar, and I think that's why I appreciated them the most, because you could see those kills and go, oh my god, that's like the precursor to another really great film. And I wrote down the knife cut, the throat slash, but I only wrote that down because she gets her throat slashed, she falls down dead, and then there's like a wide shot of her fully like fucking breathing, and I was like, this is really bothering me. Could you just hold your breath for 10 seconds? Jesus
and
Christ.
the overt like sexual pose that she's making there, like
Yeah.
she's gotten dressed again, but she's just like completely, that no one would lay like
Turning
that.
her ass towards the camera, like
I know,
she's
she's just
Yeah.
like, oh. Yeah, it's like that.
And then
That was interesting.
I thought the hanging kill was actually kind of interesting, and kind of creative.
Mhm.
Her kicking after she got hung, and pushed out of that wheelchair, I was like, that lady's legs work. This is ridiculous. But I thought the hanging kill was kind of I thought the hanging kill was kind of cool. I mean, those were the four that kind of like stand out for me. It set kind of a cool tone because that hanging kill happens, and then they show right away, like there's like a shot, going up towards that killer's face, and he takes his gloves off, and then I was like, there's no way they're going to show you who the killer is, like right out of the gate of this movie. Like, why would they do that? And then they show you, and you're like, okay, well, that's the person. But what you don't see coming is that person also just gets stabbed to death and drug away. And I was like, okay, well, there it is. There's the twist on that opening sequence. And then Matt, you brought it up, but again, I want to re-mention it again. It was really cool. The guy in the boat with the octopus on his face and shit, that was a rad shot. And the first time really in the movie, and the only time really in the movie, I was like, that's kind of gross. So, yeah, thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Heather.
I was just going to say, going back to the hanging kill, the one thing that I had in my notes was again, I'm going to keep on pointing out the beauty of like some of the shots, because that's what really pulled me in. So when it comes to the wheelchair, and it just spins and spins and then slowly stops, and so it like
Yeah.
shows you that visual of, without her I mean, she takes like that death gasp, but it's like now she's gone. And I enjoyed those little pieces throughout, the little things here and there that I guess alluded to the kill, I guess.
Yeah,
And
you can.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry.
I was gonna say you can see that Bava he was trying to do something a little more with this, and not just be like,
Mhm.
here's a camera on a naked girl or a
Mhm.
hanging, whatnot. What my favorite kill in this is actually the hanging at the very beginning that Josh brought up. And the reason why is because I do think, to your point, Heather, it's just so beautifully shot with the colors and the room that she's in. And what I find like is in many slasher films, especially ones in the 80s, I mean, we love them, but the MPAA would make all these filmmakers cut shit way down, right? We're not going to give you that
Mhm.
X rate, or we can't get an X rating. So the MPA would say, okay, Friday the 13th, you have the spear through, but you're not going to show that for 15, 20 seconds. You're going to cut it
Mhm.
down to 3 to get your R rating, and then it's
Mhm.
gone. But Italy doesn't have anything like that, right? And so when you see that kind of spear death, the camera lingers. It
Mhm.
lingers on them as they are
Mhm.
squirming and violent. When the old lady countess gets hung at the very beginning, multiple shots of her face like in
Mhm.
close up with her tongue out and her
Mhm.
eyes like glazed over. When the blonde girl gets strangled at the very end of
Mhm.
the movie and it cuts back to her, it's just like her face. I mean, it just keeps cutting back to her dead
Yeah.
stare, and it feels uncomfortable, which is what I like. I like when a film like that can make you
Mhm.
uncomfortable in that way, and it doesn't cut away right away. So I like that. Go ahead.
Oh, just I was gonna say, because 13 kills is amazing. You telling us that there's 13 kills in this movie, I mean, I would have. It didn't feel like that at
Yeah.
all. It really didn't. I was like, 13, I counted 4. Like, there's just like,
I think
13
the one
kills.
was
I know
out.
there's more than 4, but like 13 kills just seems like a lot for
Mhm.
what I was watching and the pacing of the film. I was like, they
Mhm.
crammed 13 kills in that movie. I just don't.
Mhm.
Um, I just didn't see it. So
14 if you count the fly.
uh,
True. One
14
thing I
kills is amazing.
one of the things that I was going to mention earlier, but I said I'd wait until the kill section was, and maybe this is an obvious thing, but I just thought it was interesting. So the scene where I think we said her name was Anna, I think the fortune or the tarot card reader,
Yeah.
she's sitting there and she's looking at the body, and the way that his body is splayed out looked pretty much identical to one of the cards that she had flipped. And
Oh,
so
I didn't notice that.
I was thinking, I was like, I probably should go back and look because I know that there was the I don't know tarot very well. I'm aware of it, but I don't know how to read the cards. So there was one that was one of the knives, and then I think it's right after that card or shortly after that, that's when the spear happens, maybe. I can't remember, but I do feel like if I watched it again and just watched over that segment, you could probably and I know that she says something, but again, it was the dubbing. It was kind of hard to focus on what was being
Yeah.
said. So might have to watch it with either some earbuds in or some subtitles on. But um I do think that there was probably supposed to be, unless it's just in my brain, there was probably supposed to be more of a tie with what she was reading for those tarot cards to what was happening with those kills. Just
Yeah,
because
and
he looked like that card, just the way that he was kind of splayed out like this. And I'm pretty sure
yeah.
it's a card with a
Which would
skeleton. Yeah.
explain why she's going up to him and looking at the
Hmm.
wound and not
Right.
immediately like running away because she's like, "What
Right.
is going on here?"
Yeah.
Like I said, there is an Italian language version of this where all the
Hmm.
actors spoke Italian during this. That adds additional context to a lot of stuff that's
Probably.
not in
Yeah.
the American English
Right.
speaking version of it. So, and that's something you run into with a lot of these sort of foreign films from this time period. It's like things get lost in translation. You
Hmm.
know, when they're
Hmm.
either whether it's dubbing someone's voice into English or
Hmm.
having them just try to speak English. It's not their first language, and so they
Right.
got to kind of dumb the language down or the dialogue down a little
Hmm.
bit. One thing that I didn't understand is the husband that kills the countess in the middle in the, at the very beginning. I did not get upon my first, second, third, fourth viewing of this movie because I've seen it multiple times. I don't get that he's drug away. Like
Hmm.
the killer drags his body away,
Hmm.
and that sets the whole thing in motion because the characters don't know that he is dead. And
Hmm.
so but you don't actually see somebody like drag his body. You see
Mhm.
that sort of camera just kind of whole back
Right.
in, like it's shaking and making Josh
Mhm.
want to throw up.
Yeah.
That was him being dragged, and like there aren't even feet in the shot to kind of show that
Mhm.
he's being drugged. That would be a critique I would have of how some of the stuff, it's not put together in a way that makes it easy for the viewer to really get what's going on. Though I will say, for me personally, I think if people like these kind of films and giallos and stuff like that, if you stick with it to the end, it all makes sense. Like they do
Mhm.
flashbacks in this to explain what all the characters were
Mhm.
doing, who was trying to seduce who and convince this person to go kill this
Mhm.
person so that person would die and stuff like that. But it is kind of a tough watch until you get to the end there. So I want to talk a little bit about the main question that I have of this show is this a slasher film? Could you consider it a slasher film, or is it something completely different? So this is what I wrote down for the slasher tropes that I saw as I was watching it. A remote lake location with an empty cottage. I know on the last episode, Josh, one of
Mhm.
his things was a remote location where a bunch of people go and they start kind of getting off. So we got that.
Mhm.
We do have a sequence, 10, 15 minutes long, of a bunch of young, attractive teens showing up to party, have sex. You get your skinny dipping scene
Mhm.
with a girl and whatnot. You get a subjective camera in this, where there's multiple sequences where it's from the killer's point of view, whether he's looking out at Brunhilde in the water. There's another sequence when the camera walks up and he knocks over a flower pot, which causes
Mhm.
the main guy to walk out before he gets slashed in the
Mhm.
face, whatever. So you have the subjective camera. You do have very violent and bloody kills that clearly the filmmakers behind the Friday the 13th franchise knew of this, lifted at least two
Mhm.
of the kills from this for that. You have an unidentified killer. A lot of people like to say, well, Black Christmas is the first slasher film. Uh, very similar to that iconic shot of Billy. You just see the eyeball creeping through. You get multiple shots of the killer, like, kind of voyeuristically looking at the different people in here. You've got that high body count. You have what you mentioned last week, Heather, kind of like the staging of the bodies in the way when the main,
Mhm.
I'll call her Renata, I think, she
Mhm.
walks in, she finds all the bodies displayed in the bathtub of the people. So you have that kind of thing. You got that classic shot where before the fortune teller gets her head or decapitated, where the axe goes up and you see it come up into the
Mhm.
frame and kind of like the reflection and then swings down. So those are the kind of tropes that I saw in this that I noticed. Did you guys notice anything other than that in terms of tropes that you see in
Mhm.
slasher films?
I would say that the, tarot card reader, she was the harbinger. She had alluded to there being, issues. She's the one that
Warning,
brought
yeah.
in she was warning, she's the one that brought in the, whole situation with the illegitimate child, so she, like, kinda is pushing some of that, plot out there. Um, we
You
also
got
have.
your red herrings too.
Yes,
Remember? It's like,
yes.
is Simon a bad guy? Is he not a bad guy? Who's the
Yeah.
one actually doing
That's
this?
yeah, that's what I was just about to mention was that, I think his name was Paulo, I don't know if he was a botanist or what he was, insect,
Probably
I don't know all
entomologist,
of it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Entomologist, that's the word. So he was set up several times to be the possible person that you would think, oh, he's the killer. Like I also had several things going, is he the killer? Is she the killer? Is she the final girl? Is he the final girl? Like, just all the way through. So yeah, I would say, you've got those two important characters, the ones that are the scapegoat and they end up being, one of the victims in the end, and your harbinger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great points. Josh, any other slasher tropes that we haven't mentioned that you noticed in this?
No, I mean, you guys kind of hit all the ones that we've come across. So, I mean, nothing.
Okay. Well, let me turn it to you then, Josh, because I think you're skeptical that you would call this a slasher film. What are the elements of this movie that you would say it's not a slasher film because?
I mean, my only. So, and again, this just might be me not understanding or me being just like how much I struggled to kind of follow along. Um, the only thing on the list for me was that we've talked about was the killer situation, and because it wasn't just one person killing everybody, it was multiple people killing people, right? Like I'm not making that up, right? There's more than one killer throughout this whole film. And the trope that we talk about with the killer is it's a person or disfigured person or wearing a mask or just like those traditional killer trope. And this it was more of a whodunit kind of situation, but like with multiple people. And that's the only one that like I would really pick out. And again, that just might be because I was just like, what is happening right now? But all the other tropes are there. Like everything else that we've talked about is all in there. And what I wrote down really was like, if I was watching this, if I was watching this on my own, and it wasn't for this show, and somebody was just like, go watch this film and tell me if you think it was a slasher film, I would have said no. I would have said I don't see it. But I what I can't argue with, because I wrote down this quote, is that this film is the spouting artery from which all future slasher films would flow. And that is, this film had so many things, and it was the first of so many things that came later for all these other slasher films that I love, that I can't argue that this was a slasher film. It just makes it impossible for me to argue against it. So,
Interesting.
If that answers your question at all.
I feel like it has some. It definitely has some place, a special place where it's not. Maybe it's not the slasher that we thought it would be, but it's like it's the grandfather. It has the ones down the line added additional things, because did this have, I kept saying, is there a final girl? And I kept thinking,
Yes.
is it
That's a good point.
the kids? Are the kids the final girl?
I
Because
wrote
there's
that
that
down.
throwaway line. There's that throwaway line towards the beginning when he's saying children should be with their parents, and I can't remember her retort. It's something kind of snarky, and then they go off, and then the kids are the ones who survive in the end. So are
right,
they?
which I thought that's the other thing too that we didn't write down, and I should have actually thrown this out there when you asked that question. Was there one that we missed that we wrote down? And that is, there was a twist to this film, and that was another thing that was on our list. Is there is a twist in the end that you just don't see coming. So
yeah, that's a great point. I wrote down for sort of non-slasher tropes, I put down, like, I don't think there is a final girl, final guy in this. Like a traditional, as we come to expect in a slasher film. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have multiple people sort of be, the final people or whatever. But this feels much more like a traditional giallo storyline in terms of murders are happening. We don't exactly know who it is, but like you guys have both said, it's more of a whodunit clue sort of thing. I think a lot of, to me, I'm gonna label this a slasher film, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's not because it has a lot of the tropes that we've come. If Josh wanted to argue to me this is not a slasher film, I wouldn't be able to disagree with him, because I could see Josh saying, "Look, if I have some cookie dough, that's not a cookie. But if I stick it in the oven, it turns into a delicious cookie. But it's not a cookie this." That's what I'd be like. Well, you're right. It's got all the elements of what makes a cookie, but cookie dough is different than a baked cookie, right? And I feel like slasher, like this. If I was going to play devil's advocate, I'd say, Josh, you were correct. This movie is the cookie dough of slasher films. This is where, people, filmmakers started seeing this 2, 3, 4, 5 years after, and they're like, oh, that's a cool idea. Let me create something with those ingredients. Let me bake that a little bit and turn it into something else. Now, for me personally, I do consider it a slasher film. And the reason why I consider it a slasher film is because, and I think, Josh, you and I have a difference of opinion on this. This comes down to personal preference of a viewer, I think. I feel like slashers have a very specific feel to them that can't necessarily be quantified by, okay, this trope is in this film and this trope here and here and put it all together. I this feels grimy to me. It feels like the spirit of it is kind of like there's some dude going around slashing people and whatnot. That's just the feel I get from this movie. That whole sequence with the kids or the teens or whatever they are, that feels straight out of a slasher film. Like if the entire film was, let me posit something to you guys. If Mario Bava had taken that sort of 15-minute sequence and didn't do it all together, but had split it out throughout the course of the entire running time, would we look at this film differently? Because what I think happens is, like, Josh, you look at that 15 minutes and you're like, well, there's the slasher film, but the other 60 minutes, where's the slasher? It's just a whodunit. I think it's an editing and a pacing issue, but I think the core feel of what this film is still a slasher film. Mario Bava is like, I'm going to kill all these people in gory ways with sharp instruments. I didn't have a mass killer, but I'm not going to explain who the killer is till the very end. It's going to be a twisty turny sort of thing. But to me, it just feels like one. But to Josh, it might not feel like one. Like you said, Josh, you watch it and you're like, I would never say that this is a slasher if I watched it on my own. And I think that's what is so powerful about this movie. You can look at it, anybody could watch it and get something completely out of it than a different person. So yeah, I don't know. Heather, anything you want to expound upon that? How do you feel? Do you feel like this is a slasher film, or would you say, no, I don't think so. I think there's parts, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's kind of funny. We have these varying opinions, and I feel like I'm right there in the middle. I'm in the fence post where I do feel like maybe if this were edited out and spread throughout, then it would have that typical feel that we have with our more contemporary slashers. If you were to take a contemporary slasher and edit it the same way that this is edited, you might then say, this is just a whodunit. I mean, obviously, it's a little different because we have the egregious amount of kills and all of that stuff. Although, again, 13, 13 plus, I don't know if we got everything. That is not small potatoes, but yeah, I do feel like it's definitely got all of the makings of it. It would be interesting if someone did like a fan edit just to see what would it end up feeling like if
Yeah.
it was redone, if the music was changed, if the music was more
Yeah.
intense. Some of those things. One thing I was going to point on, Josh was saying about the shakiness of the camera. Was that intentional, that he wanted to have people have that gross ick feeling? Because think of, Blair Witch Project, that has that shaky cam and it makes you feel like, oh God, I feel sick to my stomach. So was that intentional, or was he trying to do steady cam and it just failed? And so you just say, put it in, it's fine. I kind of feel like because of all of the different ways that he composited all the shots, that was extremely intentional to have it shaky like that. I got it right. I mean, like, not like, haha, Matt, I got it, but I could tell that someone was being drug away with the way that it
Oh
was
yeah.
acting. And I was thinking, I actually wrote down, it's early in my notes, it's another one of those voyeuristic type shots, like they're dragging the body away, and I put, hiding bodies, um
Yeah, and I
so
definitely, to your
yeah.
point, Heather, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Oh
to
no,
your
you're fine.
point of whether or not the shaky cam was intentional, it definitely was. There's so
Hmm.
many shots in this where it's a smooth tracking shot as it
Hmm.
goes around
Right.
characters, like the woman who's getting hung and stuff. Like
Hmm.
the camera moves around. The actual shaky stuff,
Right.
definitely intentional. Now, whether or not
Hmm.
Mario Bob was like, I want people to
Yeah,
feel
feel
weird,
sick.
I
Yeah.
don't know. But the actual shaky cam, the
Yeah.
subjective camera sort of stuff was
Right. And going
intentional.
back to the music, another note that I had written down was that the feel that I got with it having that difference, even the title, the way that it comes up on the screen, I was like, that font looks like it doesn't fit. There's this dissonance where it's, you're supposed to have this feeling, but you're getting this other thing going on. And the music made me think, I actually wrote down, this is like Last House on the Left, where the music just does not fit the,
Mhm.
The intent of the film. And you're like, yikes, that is, so that music that he picked, and you're going back to a time frame of 71. So was that I mean, obviously everything was intentional, but did he want to have that dissonance of, you're supposed to be creeped out, but this music, it's floral. I mean, not floral. I mean, it's a sad element, but I kept writing down pastoral
Yeah.
type themes of the music.
It's funny you mentioned Last House on the Left because when this was actually released in America years later, they released it in drive-ins as Last House on the Left Part 2.
Really
Yeah. This has had
interesting.
like a
Wow.
million titles, but it is kind of interesting that you brought that up.
That is
Um,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah.
because I didn't.
Yeah.
I researched a little bit on little things, but it wasn't a ton, and I did not come across that. But that is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I think that this is I think if you're a fan of slasher films and you kind of want to understand the history, at least the genesis, of how these might have come about, I think you have to watch this film.
Mhm.
This is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to show it to you guys. I didn't suspect that you guys would probably dig it a whole lot, but it's good to have that kind of, you know, understanding of cinematic history and sort of
Mhm.
where things come from. And I think one of the cool things about this film is that you could have this debate all day as to whether or not it's a slasher film or not. And I don't think
Mhm.
Mario Bava had any intention to create a slasher subgenre. I don't think he was like, you know what, I'm going to create the next wave of whatever. Because look at, we didn't get anything like this for years later. I
Mhm.
might show you guys a film called Torso, which a lot of people say that is the first slasher. Like this started it, but that's the cookie that was baked because that actually has a masked killer in it that's going around slashing people
Mhm.
up. So that an extra element got added that wasn't in this.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you guys can think of with this film in particular that you want to bring up or talk about, or should we get into our ratings of the various elements of this film?
Think I'm ready to rate.
Rate. All right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go. We're gonna go round room. So, folks, how this works is we have five basic categories of how we rate this: sex and nudity, kills, the killer or killers, the final girl guy, and overall. We're gonna go around. We're each gonna give our review on a 10-point scale, and then the final rating will just be the average of all of our stuff together, and that'll be plastered on screen with one of Heather's amazing graphics. So we are going to start with sex and nudity. Heather, I'll go to you. How would you rate the sex and nudity on this out of 10?
Um, I feel that it was pretty tasteful. It wasn't like really gratuitous. It was kind of tame, but it was impactful the way they used it. It wasn't just people running all over the place, flopping all over. But I
Well, well, Brunhilde flops a little, Heather. She flops a little.
she she was all right. She was not. She didn't have many problems there.
Yeah,
She was fit. So,
she was.
um, let's say you said out of 10. I'm gonna say, for the usage in the film, I'm gonna say a 7.
Okay. And just so everybody is aware who's not seen it, basically the only sex and nudity in this film is there is the couple who gets speared. I don't even think you see her naked though. It's
You
just her
don't see
back
it.
on top of her, like kind of
You
maybe
might
side
see a
boob a
little
little
bit
bit.
aside, but
Yeah,
not much.
the main nudity in this film is from Brunhilde, who
Mhm,
skinny dips, and there's a extended sequence of her. I mean, you see her
mhm,
full frontal, like going in
mhm,
the lake, coming out of the lake, running around
mhm,
away from the killer. So that's pretty much what the sex and nudity is in this
mhm,
movie. Josh, how would you rate it?
Kind of the same thing Heather said. It was used tastefully. Um, they didn't go super crazy with anything. I'm going to go right down the middle though and say a 5.
Okay. Yeah, and to Heather's point of the tasteful use of it, and this might have just been a thing that the actress was against or whatever, but the blonde, there's a kind of funny thing of after they have sex because they're all covered. It's like post coitus bliss or whatever. He's leaving and she gets up and she's like, "Wait, wait, wait." And then she drops her top, but you don't actually see anything. Like Mario
Mhm.
Bava does not have that wide
Mhm.
shot to show her breasts or anything. It's just her face and his reaction looking at them, but the audience never sees any of that. So it is done tastefully. I'm gonna go with Josh. I'll go down the middle with a 5, just because of the length of the skinny dipping sequence. But if you're going to this to kind of just see boobs and sex all over, you're not going to get
Yeah.
any of that. So I'll go 5. Kills. All right, Heather. I'll save you for last because you're the
Okay.
special effects artist. So, kills, Josh. How would you rate the kills in this movie? 1 to 10.
Again, there was some cool stuff. And I had a few that were, just I thought were kind of gnarly and kind of cool. So I'm gonna go a 7 on the kills.
Okay. I will go 8 on the kills, and the reason why is I'm going to say a couple of reasons. There's so many of them, even though Josh didn't see or only saw 4. There's so many of them. I thought they were so creative. I love the final kills at the end when the kids just shoot the
Mhm.
the villains who have won. We didn't even mention that the
Mhm.
villains
Yeah.
win this movie
Mhm.
and they're going to inherit the bay and their kids just shoot them dead. I just think it's so great. I love the machete or the bill hook in the face. I think that's better than what they show in Friday the 13th. I think it lingers on the body. He's like blinking as he's got this thing in his face. I think it looks good.
Mhm.
I love the decapitations. I love the squid crawling over that guy's face. I'm going to give it an 8 for the kills. I'm going to respect this film and give it an 8 on the kills. Now, Heather, you are the special effects artist. I'm curious, how would you rate the death scenes in Bay of Blood?
Yeah, I liked the fact that I'm pretty certain that every kill scene was a different type of kill. It wasn't just hack, hack, hack. I think everyone, because you had a hanging, you had a stabbing, you had a choking, decapitation, hook to the
Yeah,
neck, hook to the face, spear through the body. I mean, I guess this impaling him on the wall, but you could argue like two of the kills weren't done by that person. So,
yeah,
but yeah, like
wide
there's
variety.
variety. It's not just the same thing over and over and over again. Um, Now, I'm not a crazy extreme effects artist. I'm still learning after all these 13 years. I'm still learning, but there are things I was like, eh, that could have been better blood. Like I could see bubbling from the blood tubes, and so I was like, yeah, I made that mistake a couple
Heather's
times.
like, "Hey, you, who's going to win an Academy Award in 4 years? You could have
Right,
done that better."
right. Like, oh my god, look at me. No, but like I noticed little things where it's like I felt the pain. It's like I've done that. I've had a bubbling blood before.
Yeah,
Yep, I know
you
what
know
that's
what it feels
like.
like to have no budget.
Yeah.
Well, one of the fun facts about this movie is the fact that there was such a low budget that there were no trees where they filmed. There was just like
Yeah.
sparse trees. And so, but Bava's whole thing takes place at like a foresty area. Whenever you see somebody walking and like there's foreground, he just placed stuff in front to make it look like there was a forest, and all the actors would laugh at him and be like, "That's not going to look good."
Hmm.
But it's like it looks real. He knew
Yeah.
what he was doing, but he didn't have the budget to actually go to
Yeah, I didn't
a
see that.
forest.
So yeah, so going on that, it does have a like an indie type feel to it, that quality. I There are kills that I absolutely love. I didn't even really touch on the decapitation. I do love that one as well. I'm gonna go with an 8, a solid 8 as
Okay,
well. Um,
okay,
so yeah.
sounds good. All right, well let's rate the killer or killers. I guess we'll take them as a group. here. I'll start off this one. I'm going to give the Killers probably a 5. And the reason why I'm giving it a 5 is because there's so many different ones, and we're not really revealing who they all are. It's hard to even describe like why I would give it. I didn't get the sense that these were great killers, right? The boyfriend or whatever of the
Mhm.
daughter, he's just kind of she's just a mean person and kind of like guilt trips him into doing it, right? And so he
Mhm.
doesn't really want to be killing people, and he just kind of does. The best killer was Simon. If I'm just rating Simon, just the
Mhm.
creativeness and whatnot, I might bump that up. But I'm taking this as a whole 5, 5 for me.
Mhm.
Heather, how would you rate the killers in this?
I'd agree. It's they're okay. I mean, if maybe it was because of the way that the plot was driven, like I don't get a sense of I should be afraid of these people, but I'm like, yeah, if I had a gun, I could
They're
survive
kind of
this
bumbling
guy.
idiots. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like I could survive this guy if I just stayed together, didn't get cornered and like shot him. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's no feeling of he's gonna brute force kill someone, or you knock that knife out of his, or that bill hook out of his hand, and what's he got? Like, I mean, I guess he did strangle Laura, but again,
Oh,
I wasn't scared
I'm
of
glad you
them.
brought that up because this gets to another one of your points earlier about how kind of non-exploitative that Bava was in a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
The original death for Laura, when Simon strangles her,
Mhm.
was he actually rips out her eyeballs. They
Oh.
filmed they filmed that death twice. They
Oh.
filmed one where he removes her eyes, and then one where he just strangles her. And Bava
Mhm.
said, "I want just the strangulation," which was a much less exploitation
Mhm.
sort
Right.
of kill, where he wanted to pull back on that. So I thought that was also interesting. But yeah,
Has anyone ever seen that footage, or do they just talk about it?
not that I know of.
I was
I
gonna say,
haven't
did
seen it, so.
somebody inspire you for your film that you won't name?
No, no, no. I actually have the Anchor Bay DVD of this, and it has an audio commentary with Tim Lucas, who's like a film scholar. He wrote a big book on Mario Bava called like All the Colors of the Night or something like that. And he actually mentioned that in the audio commentary that I watched for the show, and I was like, oh, I had no idea. But to my knowledge, that footage has never been on there. Josh, how would you rate the Killers?
Yeah, they were my favorite part of this whole movie. I could really feel their drive behind, killing each other. And no, they're all super mid. I agree. It was a 5.
Okay. Um, this will be a quick one, I think. The final girl guy. Josh, how would you rate that? Is there one?
I don't think we had that in this movie. So uh
So what's your rating?
0. 0.
0. Okay.
0.
All right.
Somebody help
Heather.
me out if I'm wrong.
I'm gonna give it to the kids and say they're the final children. That's so freaking funny. Oh, look, they're really good at playing dead. Let's go down to the bay. God, it was
Good.
so absurd, but I guess that they're the closest we got to a final girl. So just for hilarity's sake alone, I'll give them a 2 because they're stupid.
Okay. I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna give them a 1. I don't think if you're gonna put a gun to my head, I'm not gonna. The kids are not a final girl, final guy, but they are interspersed throughout the film.
Hmm.
They're never under any threat.
Yeah, right.
So
This is
I'm gonna
true.
give it 1. I'm just gonna give it a 1. They're there. They're at the end. So and then overall for a Bay of Blood, taking into account everything, Josh, your overall rating for this movie.
Again, I'm gonna go straight down the middle, just based off of the slasher idea, and give it a 5.
Sliced right down the middle. All right, Heather, your overall rating.
Just like mentally thinking of all of the different points that we were giving, I would say it's going to be a 5 to a 6.
Which would you lean more towards?
I'll lean more towards the 5.
Okay. And I'm going to give it an 8 because I like this movie a lot. And so there you go, folks. That is our discussion of Mario Bava's A Bay of Blood. We will be back at some point. We got an episode of The Jester popping up soon. We're going to do Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Let us know in the comments below. Do you agree with our ratings? Do you disagree with our ratings? Have you seen this movie? Were there any topics or things that we thought or that you think that we forgot and didn't touch on? Leave a comment down below, as well as anything that you'd like us to watch in the future. And we'll be back at some point with another episode of Saturday Night Slasher. So hit that notification bell. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.